the cardinal sin of Satanism. It's too bad that stupidity isn't painful. Ignorance is one thing, but our society thrives increasingly on stupidity. It depends on people going along with whatever they are told. The media promotes a cultivated stupidity as posture that is not only acceptable but laudable. Satanists must learn to see through these tricks and cannot afford to be stupid. Thou shalt not have any gods before me versus stupidity. Which one do you think is better? Number 2, thou shalt not make unto thee any graven images. Number 2 of the satanic sins is in fact pretentiousness. Empty posturing can almost be irritating and isn't applying to the cardinal rules of lesser magic, on equal footing with stupidity for what keeps the money in circulation these days. Everyone's made to feel like a big shot, whether they can come up with goods or not. Something that I want to mention here is when LaVey uses lesser magic and greater magic, that he's not actually referring to magic, like, you know, spells and things like that. When he uses the term lesser magic and greater magic, what he actually means, greater magic is a form of psychodrama that involves ritual and ceremony to focus on one's emotional energy for a specific purpose. Lesser magic is a variation of the laws of attraction and consists of a non-ritual or manipulative magic through the use of natural abilities to manipulate other humans and therefore circumstances. And just in case people don't know, psychodrama is an action method often used in psychotherapy, which clients use spontaneous dramatization, role-playing, and dramatic self-representation to investigate and gain insight into their lives. Jesus Christ, I hate this commandment. Number 3, thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain. Number 3 of the 9 satanic sins is in fact solipsism. This can be very dangerous for Satanists, projecting your reactions, responses, and sensibilities onto someone who is probably far less attuned than you are. It is the mistake of expecting people to give you the same consideration, courtesy, and respect that you naturally give them. They won't. Instead, Satanists must strive to apply the dictum of do unto others as they do unto you. It's work for the most of us and requires constant vigilance lest you slip into a comfortable illusion of everyone being like you. As it has been said, certain utopias would be ideal in a nation of philosophers, but unfortunately we are far from that point. Number 4, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Number 4 of the 9 satanic sins is in fact self-deceit. It's in the 9 satanic statements, but deserves to be repeated here. Another cardinal sin: we must not pay homage to any of the sacred cows presented to us, including the roles that we are expected to play ourselves. The only time self-defeat should be entered in is when it's fun with awareness, but then it's not self-deceit. Number 5, honor thy father and thy mother. I have always hated this particular commandment within the 10 Commandments simply because what if your father and your mother are verbally or physically abusive to you? Do you need to honor and respect your father and mother, people who are harming you or hurting you? I don't think so. But that's one of the things that I hate about the 10 Commandments, is that these commandments are so fucking vague, whereas the 9 satanic sins actually expands on what it means. Number 5 from the satanic sins is herd conformity. That's obvious from a satanic stance. It's alright to conform to a person's wishes if it ultimately benefits you, but only fools follow along with the herd, letting an impersonal entity dictate to you. The key is to choose a master wisely instead of being enslaved by the whims of the many. Number 6, thou shalt not kill. Number 6 of the satanic sins is lack of perspective. Again, one can lead a lot of pain for a Satanist. You must never lose sight of who you are and what a threat you can be by your very existence. We are making history right now every day. Always keep the wider historical and social picture in the mind. That is an important key to both lesser and greater magic. See the patterns and fit things together as you want the pieces to fall into place. Do not be swayed by herd constraints. Know that you are working on another level entirely from the rest of the world. Number 7, thou shalt not commit adultery. Number 7 of the satanic sins is forgetfulness of past orthodoxies. Be aware that this is one of the keys to brainwashing people into accepting something new and different, when in reality it's something that was once widely accepted, but is now presented in a new package. We are expected to rave about the genius of the creator and forget the original. This makes for a disposable society. Number 8, thou shalt not steal. Number 8 of the satanic sins is counterproductive pride. The first word is important. Pride is great up to the point you begin to throw out the baby with the bathwater. The rule of Satanism is, if it works for you, great. When it stops working for you, when you've painted yourself into a corner and the only way out is to say, I'm sorry, I've made a mistake, I wish I could compromise somehow, then do it. Number 9, thou shalt not bear false witness. Number 9 of the satanic sins is lack of aesthetics. This is the physical application of the balance factor. Aesthetics is important in lesser magic and should be cultivated. It is obvious that no one can collect any money off classical standards of beauty and form most of the time, so they are discouraged in consumer society, but an eye for a beauty, for balance, is the essential satanic tool and must be applied for the greatest magical effectiveness. It's not what's supposed to be pleasing, it's what is. Aesthetics is a personal thing, reflective of one's own nature, but there is a universally pleasing and harmonious configurations that should not be denied. Number 10, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, wife, or possession. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen, my fellow reptiles? I am not done yet. Along with the 9 satanic sins, Satanism also has the 11 rules of Earth. Let's go through them really quick. 1. Do not give opinions or advice unless you are asked. I like that one. 2. Do not tell your troubles to others unless you are sure they want to hear them. 3. When in another's lair, show him respect or else do not go there. 4. If a guest in your lair annoys you, treat him cruelly without mercy. 5. Do not make sexual advances unless you are given the mating signal. 6. Do not take which does not belong to you unless it is a burden to the other person and he cries out to be relieved. 7. Acknowledge the power of magic if you have employed it successfully to obtain your desire. If you deny the power of magic after having called upon it with success, you will lose all that you have obtained. 8. Do not complain about anything to which you need not subject yourself. 9. One of my favorites, do not harm little children. 10. Do not kill a non-human animals unless you are attacked or for food. And 11. When waking up in open territory, bother no one. If he bothers you, ask him to stop. If he does not stop, destroy him. So now I must ask the question, if you had to choose between the 10 commandments or the 9 satanic sins and the 11 rules of Earth, which one would you choose? Obviously, I think you guys know my answer. I would choose the 9 satanic sins because I agree with a lot of the 9 satanic sins and the mindset and ideology that has regarding against pretentiousness, against pride, against stupidity, and all sorts of things. Now, I guess you could say that the Bible is also against that, but I'm not looking at the Bible. I'm looking specifically at the 10 commandments versus these other things within Satanism. So which one would you guys pick? The 9 satanic sins, the 11 rules of Earth, or the 10 commandments from the Christian religion?